the first time they saw it. They thought it was just weeds. By the third day, 4 grown men who had overseen fields, broken horses, and punished others without hesitation, refused to even step near that cabin. And by the end of the week, no one in that part of Georgia would say her name out loud. Because whatever she had planted, it wasn't meant to grow. It was meant to keep something out or something in. Welcome to Night Archive. And tonight's story might make you think twice about what grows quietly around you. Before we go deeper, if you enjoy dark, real feeling stories like this, make sure you like and subscribe. Because what you're about to hear only gets stranger from here. It was the summer of 1857, deep in rural Georgia, where the heat sat heavy in the air, and silence stretched across miles of land. The cabin stood alone, slightly tilted, its wood faded and cracked. It wasn't unusual. There were dozens like it, but this one had changed. Not the structure itself, not at first glance. It was the ground around it. A strange ring of plants had begun to grow, tight, deliberate, almost unnatural in how perfectly they circled the cabin. Dark green leaves, thin stems, and small, pale flowers that never fully opened. No one remembered planting them, and no one saw her do it. Her name was Lila. Quiet, observant, the kind of person people overlooked until they couldn't anymore. She had arrived months earlier, brought to the land with no questions asked and no past explained. At first, she kept to herself, worked when told, spoke only when necessary, but something shifted after a storm. A storm so violent it tore branches from trees and flooded the lower fields. The kind of storm that made even the strongest men uneasy. The next morning, the plants appeared. At first, the masters laughed it off, said it was just wild growth stirred by the rain. But one of them, Caleb, stepped closer to inspect it. And then he stopped, not because he saw something, because he felt something. He later described it as wrong. The air near the plants felt colder, thicker, like breathing through damp cloth. He didn't touch them, didn't need to. He turned around and walked away. That should have been the end of it, but it was. Because that night, something started knocking. Not loud, not aggressive, just steady. 3 knocks, then silence, then 3 more. It didn't come from the door. It came from beneath the floor. At first, they blamed animals, loose boards, the aftermath of the storm. But the knocking continued the next night, and the next. Always the same pattern, and always louder. Meanwhile, the plants kept growing, faster than anything they had seen before. Within days, the ring thickened, the stems twisting together like they were weaving something, forming a barrier or a boundary. Lila was seen near them once, just once, standing still, barefoot, her hands hovering just above the leaves, not touching, but close enough to feel them. When someone called out to her, She didn't respond. She just whispered something under her breath, and the plants moved, not swayed by wind, moved. That's when fear began to settle in. One of the masters, Jonathan, decided to put an end to it. He grabbed a tool and walked straight toward the cabin, determined to tear the plants out by the root. The others watched, because something about the way he walked felt forced, like he was pushing against something invisible. He reached the edge of the ring, and then he dropped the tool, not by choice. His hand just opened. Later, he would swear he heard something in his ear, a voice, not loud, but close, telling him to leave. He didn't argue. He stepped back, and he never went near that cabin again. Now here's where things take a darker turn, because the knocking didn't stay under the floor. It started moving, from beneath to the walls, then to the ceiling. Always at night, always in threes, and always when Lila was inside. No one dared enter after sunset, not even the men who once controlled everything on that land. By the fifth night, something else began happening. The animals refused to go near the area. Horses would panic. Dogs would whine and pull away. Even birds avoided the trees above the cabin. It was like the land itself knew something was wrong. And then someone disappeared. One of the workers, gone without a trace. No footprints, no signs of struggle, just gone. But the next morning, the plants had grown wider, expanding their circle, like they needed more space, or like they were feeding something. Rumors spread fast. Some said Lila had learned something old, something passed down in whispers and silence. Others believed she wasn't protecting herself, but containing something that came with the storm. Because after that storm, strange things had been reported across nearby lands. Shadows moving where no one stood. Voices heard in empty rooms. But only this cabin had the plants. Only this cabin had the knocking. And only this cabin had Lila. One night, against every warning, Caleb returned. He said he needed answers. Or maybe he just couldn't stand not knowing. He waited until midnight. Then he walked toward the cabin. The air changed immediately. Heavy, cold, like stepping into water. The plants brushed against his boots, even though there was no wind. And then the knocking stopped, completely. For the first time in days, silence. He reached the door, placed his hand on it, and before he could push it open, a voice came from inside. Not Lila's, something deeper, something layered. It said one thing: do not break the circle. Caleb stepped back and ran. The next morning, the cabin was empty. Lila was gone, no signs of struggle, no footprints leading away. Just gone. And the plants, they had dried overnight. Every leaf, every stem dead, but still standing, like they had finished their purpose. No one touched them for weeks. Eventually, the land was abandoned, the cabin left to rot. But here's What makes this story linger years later, when someone finally returned to clear the land, they found something beneath the cabin. Not bones, not tools, a space, a hollow area under the floor, too clean, too empty, like something had been kept there, or sealed there, and the wood above it, marked, 3 lines, repeated again and again, like something had been trying to get out, or something had been trying to stay in. No official record ever explained what happened to Lila. No one ever claimed to understand the plants, but in nearby towns, people still talk about that place. They say nothing grows there now, nothing at all. And on certain nights, if you stand close enough, you can still hear it. 3 knocks, then silence, then 3 more. So the question isn't just what she planted, it's why. Was it protection? Or was it a warning? And if that circle was broken, what do you think was waiting underneath? Let me know in the comments what you believe really happened. And don't forget to share this story with someone who loves mysteries like this, because some stories aren't meant to be forgotten. They're meant to be passed on.